The bridge of the USS Defiance was quiet. Only the soft beeps from the control panels broke the silence. Admiral Alan Carter stood with his hands behind his back. His gray eyes stared at the large screen in front of him. The screen showed a planet, or what was left of a planet. Haven Colony was now just smoke and ruins. "No survivors, sir," said Lieutenant Susan Miller. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she checked the scanner again. "All life signs are negative." Admiral Carter nodded once. He had expected this, but hearing it made his chest tighten. 15,000 people, scientists, families, children, all gone. "When did we lose contact with them?" he asked. Captain Frank Rogers stepped forward. 3 months ago, sir. Their last message mentioned unknown ships at the edge of their system. Then nothing. Carter turned to look at his crew. They were the best Earth had to offer. The first deep, space military crew sent to investigate why an entire colony had gone silent. They had all prepared for the worst, but seeing it was different. "Do we know who did this?" Carter asked. Dr. Olivia Ward looked up from her station. As the ship's expert on alien cultures, she had been studying the energy patterns left in Haven's atmosphere. "The energy signatures match what we've seen from Vraxian weapons, sir," she said. "They're an advanced species from the Orion arm. We've picked up their communications before but never made direct contact. Until now," Carter said. His voice was cold. "Sir, it looks like they used plasma bombardment," Lieutenant Greg Spencer said from the weapons station. "The kind you'd use if you wanted to send a message. This wasn't just an attack. It was meant to be seen." Carter nodded. "And who was meant to see it, Lieutenant?" Spencer looked confused. "Us, sir? Earth?" "No," Carter said. "The Vraxians don't know about Earth, not really. Haven Colony was our first step into this sector. They thought they were wiping out an isolated human settlement. They have no idea what humanity really is." He walked to the captain's chair but didn't sit. "They don't know about Earth's fleet. They don't know about the Defiance, and they certainly don't know what happens when you kill 15,000 humans and think there won't be consequences." The crew watched him. The Defiance was Earth's first and only true battleship. Built in secret over 20 years, it had technology no other ship in Earth's growing fleet possessed. Stealth systems that made it invisible to most sensors, weapons that could split moons, and a crew chosen not just for skill but for judgment. "Captain Rogers," Carter said, "set a course for Vraxian territory." Rogers nodded. "Revenge, sir?" Carter shook his head. "Justice and education. The Vraxians need to learn who they've attacked. I want them to understand exactly what humanity is capable of." As the powerful engines of the Defiance hummed to life, Carter finally sat in his chair. He had hoped humanity's first major contact with an alien civilization would be peaceful. But the galaxy had other plans. "Dr. Ward," he said, "what do we know about Vraxian culture?" Olivia Ward brought up files on her screen. "They're a warrior society, sir. Hierarchical. They respect strength above all else. They've conquered at least 3 other species that we know of. Those species now serve as client races in their empire." "How do they fight?" Carter asked. Commander Nicole Hayes, the tactical officer, answered this one. "Overwhelming force, sir. They strike hard and fast. No warnings, no mercy. They believe fear is the strongest weapon." Carter nodded. "They're not wrong. Fear is powerful." He looked at the image of Haven Colony one more time before the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. But they're about to learn there are things more dangerous than fear. For 3 weeks, the USS Defiance tracked the Vraxian fleet that had destroyed Haven. They stayed invisible, using their advanced stealth technology to study the alien ships. They watched, they learned, they planned. In the ship's tactical room, Commander Hayes pointed to a holographic display of the Vraxian fleet. "Their ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses. No-point defense systems, minimal close-range weapons. They're built to frighten, not fight equals." "Because they've never had equals," Carter said. "What about their communications?" Lieutenant Miller spoke up. "Simple encryption, sir. We've already broken most of it. They're not used to enemies who can fight back on a technical level. They've grown comfortable," Captain Rogers added. "Their last real war was over 100 years ago. Since then, they've only attacked weaker species or colonies. Easy victories. Carter studied the Vraxian command ship on the display. It was 5 times the size of the Defiance, covered in weapons, built to inspire terror. And now? Carter asked. Now they're celebrating, Intelligence Officer Peter Walsh said with disgust. They're broadcasting the destruction of Haven to all their territories, showing what happens to species that try to expand into their space. Carter's expression didn't change, but his eyes grew colder. Location? Outpost. Krell, sir, Walsh replied. A major Vraxian military base at the edge of their territory. All the ships involved in the Haven attack are there, including their commander. Carter stood up. Then so are we. It's time they understood who they're dealing with. The Defiance. Dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside the Krell system. On the bridge, Carter gave his final orders. We'll appear directly above their main celebration. I want to address their entire command structure at once. Lieutenant Miller looked nervous. Sir, they'll open fire immediately. Carter shook his head. No, they won't. They'll be too shocked. No one has ever appeared in the middle of their territory before. No one has ever challenged them directly. They won't know how to react. He turned to Captain Rogers. And before they figure it out, we'll show them exactly what the Defiance can do. Rogers nodded. The uninhabited moon? Yes, Carter said. A demonstration. Then we talk. As the Defiance prepared to reveal itself, Carter looked around at his crew. They represented Earth's finest, and they carried the memory of 15,000 murdered colonists. This isn't just about revenge, he told them. This is about the future. How humanity will be seen by the galaxy. Today, we teach the Vraxians that humans are not to be trifled with, and we do it in a way they'll never forget. The powerful engines of the Defiance hummed as the stealth systems prepared to disengage. The moment had come. Humanity's battleship was about to appear, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Vraxian celebration at Outpost Krell was loud and bright. Hundreds of Vraxian officers filled the main hall. They drank and boasted about their victory over the human colony. Fleet Commander Zex Traal stood on a raised platform. His scaled skin gleamed under the lights as he raised his arms for silence. The destruction of the human outpost sends a clear message to all who would enter Vraxian space, he shouted. His voice carried across the hall. The hegemony will not tolerate expansion from lesser species. The crowd roared. The Vraxians were tall beings with tough scaled skin. Their 6-fingered hands were perfect for operating complex machinery. Their 4 eyes gave them excellent vision, and their culture gave them absolute confidence in their superiority. The humans had interesting technology, Zex Traal continued, but they were weak. They did not even attempt to fight back. One day, of bombardment, and their colony was ash. More cheers filled the room. None of the Vraxians noticed when every screen in the outpost suddenly went black. When the screens came back on, they showed a human face. The celebration went quiet. I am Admiral Alan Carter of Earth, the face said. The universal translator converted his words to Vraxian. You attacked and destroyed our research colony at Haven. 15,000 civilians, scientists, families, children, were murdered without warning or cause. Zex Traal stared at the screen in shock. How is this possible? He demanded. Where is this transmission coming from? Look up, Admiral Carter continued calmly. The USS Defiance is directly above you. Every Vraxian in the room looked up, though of course they could not see through the ceiling. But on every screen the image changed to show a ship in orbit around their outpost. It was smaller than their largest battleships, but its design was unlike anything they had seen before. We could destroy your outpost as easily as you destroyed our colony, Carter said. Zex Traal found his voice. This is a trick. No ship could enter hegemony space without detection. Our sensor network. A flash of light cut him off. The entire room shook. On the screens, everyone saw one of the small moons orbiting Krell explode into countless pieces. That was a demonstration, Carter's voice continued after a moment of stunned silence. The moon was uninhabited. We confirmed this before firing. The Vraxians stared at the screens in shock. The moon was gone. In its place was only debris floating in space. "Humans are not like you," Carter said. "We don't target civilians or attack without warning. This is your warning." In the command center of the outpost, officers rushed to battle stations. Alarms sounded throughout the base. "Launch all ships," Zexatral ordered as he ran from the celebration hall to the command center. "Destroy that human vessel." But when he arrived at the command center, more bad news awaited him. "We can't get a weapons lock," a weapons officer reported. "Their ship is... It's not where the sensors say it is. It's like it's bending the light around it." On the screens, Admiral Carter continued. "The Vraxian hegemony will immediately stop all attacks against human settlements. You will leave all sectors near human space, and you will prepare to meet with our diplomats to discuss payment for the people of Haven." Zextral pushed his way to the communication station. "This is Fleet, Commander Zextral of the Vraxian hegemony," he snarled. "The hegemony does not talk with lesser species. Our fleet will reduce your world to—" "Your fleet would never reach us," Carter interrupted. "Even now, the coordinates of every major Vraxian military base have been sent to Earth. The Defiance is not our only ship. It is just the first to reach you." This was not true. Earth had no other ships like the Defiance. But the Vraxians had no way to know this. In the tactical room of the Defiance, Commander Nicole Hayes watched the Vraxian response through their hacked communications. "They're scrambling their ships," she reported, "but they're confused. Our stealth systems are working perfectly. They can see us on basic visual, but their targeting systems can't get a lock." Admiral Carter nodded. "Keep our weapons charged, but don't target any inhabited structures. If they fire, we only hit military targets." "And if their entire fleet comes after us?" Captain Rogers asked quietly. "Then we show them why the Defiance was built," Carter replied. On the screens across the Vraxian outpost, Carter spoke again. "You have 6 hours to signal that you agree to our terms. After that, we will be forced to show that humans don't need many ships to be overwhelming." With that, the transmission ended, and on all Vraxian sensors, the Defiance simply vanished. "Where did they go?" Zexatral demanded. "Unknown, Commander," a sensor officer replied. "They're either using technology we've never seen before, or they've jumped to faster-than-light travel." "Impossible," Zexatral said. "No ship can enter FTL travel this close to a gravity well." But the screen showed only empty space where the human ship had been. The Defiance had not left. It had only activated its full stealth systems. The ship now orbited Krell, completely invisible to Vraxian technology. "They're in chaos," Lieutenant Miller reported as she monitored the Vraxian communications. "They've sent emergency messages to their central command. They're calling in every available ship." "Good," Carter said. "Let them waste resources." "Sir," Intelligence Officer Peter Walsh spoke up. "Our transmission was picked up by more than just the Vraxians. At least 3 other species in nearby sectors intercepted it. They're all talking about us now." Carter smiled slightly. "That was part of the plan. The Vraxians rule through fear. Others need to see them challenged." For the next few hours, the crew of the Defiance watched as the Vraxians scrambled to respond. Their ships formed search patterns, but none came close to finding the Earth vessel. In the Vraxian High Command, far from Outpost Krell, leaders argued about how to respond. "This human ship destroyed a moon with 1 shot," one general said. "What if they can do the same to our homeworld?" "One ship cannot stand against our entire fleet," another argued. "But can our entire fleet find one ship that our sensors cannot detect?" a third asked. The debate raged until Grand Marshal Korvik, leader of all Vraxian military forces, made his decision. "We will appear to comply," he said. "Order our ships to withdraw from the sectors near human space. Tell Commander Zextral to agree to their terms. And then?" one of his generals asked. "And then we learn everything we can about these humans," Korvik said. "No species challenges the hegemony without consequences. But we will be patient. We will be smart." As the 6-hour deadline approached, the Defiance received a message from Outpost Krell. "The Vraxians are agreeing to our terms," Lieutenant Miller reported with surprise in her voice. "They're already ordering their ships to pull back from the sectors near Haven. Admiral Carter nodded. They're not surrendering. They're regrouping. But that gives us time. Time for what? Captain Rogers asked. Time to make sure we're ready. When they come back, Carter said. And time to find allies. The galaxy just saw someone stand up to the Vraxian hegemony and survive. That will get attention. The USS Defiance began its journey home, invisible to the watching eyes of a suddenly very interested galaxy. On Earth, they would build more ships, and in the stars they would find friends and enemies alike. The Vraxians had learned that humans were dangerous. Soon the rest of the galaxy would learn that humans could be much more than that. They could change everything. News of the human battleship spread quickly through the galaxy. Species that had suffered under Vraxian rule for generations suddenly saw hope. Species that had lived in fear of Vraxian expansion breathed easier. And species that had never heard of humans before now wanted to know everything about them. On the diplomatic vessel Harmonious Exchange, representatives from 12 different species met in an emergency session. The ship drifted in neutral space, far from the territories of any major power. Is it true? Asked Ambassador Lith of the Aloran Cooperative. The Alorans were a peaceful species with blue skin and 4 arms. Did one human ship really force the Vraxians to retreat? Our sources confirm it, replied Representative Voss of the Mithril Concordance. The Mithril were small beings with metallic skin that reflected light like mirrors. The Vraxians have pulled their ships from 3 sectors near human space. Large screens displayed the limited information available about the USS Defiance. Many of the delegates stared at the images with disbelief. Their stealth technology should not be possible for a species so new to space travel, said Quantum Collective envoy Xelturath. The Quantum Collective were beings of pure energy who used mechanical bodies to interact with physical creatures. Humans achieved faster-than-light travel less than 50 years ago. Perhaps they had help, suggested a delegate from the Saurian Alliance. Or perhaps, said Ambassador Lith slowly, we have underestimated what desperation and determination can achieve. The Vraxians destroyed one of their colonies, 15,000 lives. How would any of our species respond to such an attack, the OA? Room fell silent as they considered this question. On the USS Defiance, now halfway back to Earth, Lieutenant Lisa Johnson monitored these intercepted communications from her intelligence station. Sir, she called to Admiral Carter, you might want to hear this. Our little show at Krell has gotten the attention of the entire sector. 12 major species are discussing us right now in emergency session. Carter walked to her station and listened to the translated conversations. Good, he said after a while. This was never just about the Vraxians. It was about establishing humanity's position in the galactic community. Captain Rogers joined them. By making everyone afraid of us? By making them respect us? Carter corrected. Fear is the Vraxian way. Respect will be ours. Carter turned to address the entire bridge crew. When we return to Earth, things will move quickly. We'll need to prepare for diplomatic missions as well as possible Vraxian retaliation. I want recommendations from all department heads on my desk by tomorrow. As the Defiance continued its journey home, other eyes watched its progress. Not all of them were friendly. Deep in Vraxian territory, Grand Marshal Korvik met with his top scientists and military leaders. Tell me how one human ship entered our territory undetected, he demanded. Chief, Scientist Mexalora stepped forward nervously. Our analysis suggests they bend light and other energy around their vessel, similar to our cloaking technology but far more advanced. And their weapons? The moon they destroyed? The energy readings were unlike anything we've seen before. It wasn't just destroyed. Some of its matter would converted into pure energy. Korvik's 4 eyes narrowed. You're saying they have weapons that break down matter at the atomic level? Yes, Marshal. If such a weapon were used against one of our worlds, how soon can we develop similar technology? Korvik asked. Years, possibly decades, Mexalora admitted. We don't even understand the basic principles yet. Korvik stood up and walked to the large window overlooking the Vraxian capital city. Then we must be smarter than these humans. If we can't match their technology, we must use other methods. He turned back to his advisors. Send infiltration teams to the edge of human space. I want to know everything about them, their strengths, their weaknesses, their allies. Find me something we can use against them. Back on Earth, the return of the Defiance caused both celebration and concern. The ship docked at the orbital station above Earth, and Admiral Carter was immediately summoned to an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. You took a terrible risk, Admiral, said Council Chair Patricia Lynn as soon as Carter entered the room. Going alone into enemy territory, revealing our most advanced ship to an alien power. With respect, Madam Chair, Carter replied, we had no choice. The Vraxians needed to understand that attacking human colonies has consequences. And now the entire galaxy knows about us, added Counselor Joe Martinez. We've been cautious about revealing our capabilities for decades. That caution is now gone. Yes, Carter agreed. But so is our isolation. 12 major species are now interested in diplomatic relations with Earth. Species that might become allies against the Vraxian threat. The council members exchanged glances. You believe the Vraxians will attack again? Asked Counselor Sophia Kim. I know they will, Carter said firmly. They're only retreating to regroup. The hegemony has ruled through fear for centuries. They can't allow our challenge to stand. Chair Lynn sighed. Then we need to prepare. How much time do we have? Months, maybe a year, Carter estimated. They'll want to study us first, find our weaknesses, but there's good news too. What's that? Martinez asked. The Vraxians have many enemies, Carter explained. Species they've conquered or threatened. Our stand against them has given those species hope and potential allies for us. Lynn nodded slowly. Then we need diplomats as well as soldiers. We'll appoint an ambassador with full authority to establish relations with these species. I have a recommendation, Carter said. Dr. Diane Russell. She's a professor of history at Stanford, specializing in how civilizations interact when they first meet. She also has a background in international law. A civilian? Counselor Kim questioned. Yes, Carter said firmly. We need to show the galaxy that humans aren't just warriors. We're scholars, diplomats, and builders too. The Defiance showed what happens when we're attacked. Now we need to show what happens when we're respected. As the Council began organizing Earth's first major diplomatic mission to the stars, another ship approached the solar system. It moved slowly, careful to avoid detection. Inside, a Vraxian infiltration team prepared for their mission. Remember, said the team leader, we observe only. We learn their weaknesses. We do not engage. The small ship slipped past the outer, sensor perimeter of the solar system. The Vraxians had begun their intelligence gathering, but they weren't the only ones watching Earth with new interest. On a distant world, in a temple older than most civilizations, a being of glowing energy studied a holographic display of the USS Defiance. So, the being said in a voice like distant thunder, the humans have finally revealed themselves, sooner than expected. A servant bowed low. Is this a problem, Ancient One? No, the luminous being replied. It is an opportunity. The prophecy speaks of a young species that would challenge the balance of power, a species that would either save the galaxy or destroy it. The servant looked up in alarm. And you believe these humans are that species? I do. The Ancient One waved a hand, and the hologram changed to show Earth. Send a representative to meet them. It is time we guided their path. Across the galaxy, powers old and new turned their attention to humanity. The age of Earth's isolation was over. The age of challenges had begun. 6 months after the Defiance's confrontation with the Vraxians, Earth had changed. The orbital shipyards around the planet now worked day and night. 5 new Defiance-class vessels were under construction. Workers in spacesuits moved like busy ants across the huge metal frames. Admiral Carter stood at the window of Orbital Station 1, watching the progress of the closest ship. They say the Relentless will be ready for testing next month, said Dr. Diane Russell, who stood beside him. Carter nodded. That's good news. We'll need every ship we can get. Dr. Russell had adjusted well to her new role as Earth's first ambassador to the galactic community. Her dark hair now had streaks of silver, and her eyes looked tired, but they still shone with excitement. The Ellerin delegation arrives tomorrow, she said. They're bringing representatives from the Mithril Concordance and the Quantum Collective. If all goes well, we could have our first alliance treaty by the end of the week. Carter turned to look at her. And if it doesn't go well? Russell smiled slightly. Then I'll remind them what happened to the last species that underestimated humans. Carter laughed. You've changed, Diane. 6 months ago, you would have given me a lecture about peaceful contact and cultural exchange. 6 months ago, I hadn't seen what was left of Haven Colony, she replied, her smile fading. Peace is still my goal, Alan, but I'm not naive enough to think we can have peace without strength. A young officer approached and saluted. Admiral, Ambassador, the Council is ready for your briefing. They followed him to the station's conference room. The 12 members of the Global Defense Council waited, their faces serious. Let's begin, Chair Lynn said once they were seated. Ambassador Russell, what's the status of our diplomatic efforts? Russell activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a map of the known galaxy, with colored indicators, for different species. We've established communication with 17 spacefaring species, she reported. 7 have agreed to formal diplomatic relations. 3, the Allorans, the Mithril, and the Quantum Collective, are interested in a mutual defense agreement. And what do they want in exchange? Counselor Martinez asked. Technology exchange primarily, Russell answered. Not weapons, but medical and agricultural advances. Many species are impressed with how quickly humans have developed compared to their own histories. And the Vraxians? Counselor Kim asked, looking at Carter. Quiet for now, the Admiral replied. They've honored their agreement to stay away from human space, but our intelligence suggests they're building up their forces. Their fleet movements indicate they're preparing for something big. Something big like what? Chair Lynn asked with concern. We believe they're planning a major offensive, Carter said. Not just against us, but against any species that allies with us. They can't allow their authority to be challenged. Lynn tapped her fingers on the table thoughtfully. How much time do we have? Hard to say, Carter admitted. Our best guess is 3 to 6 months before they're ready to move. That's not much time, Martinez said. No, Carter agreed. But we're not sitting idle either. In addition to our new ships, we've been upgrading Earth's defense systems with help from our new friends. The meeting continued for hours as they discussed plans and preparations. When it finally ended, Carter and Russell walked together toward the station's living quarters. Do you think we can really win against the entire Vraxian hegemony? Russell asked quietly when they were alone. I think we have to, Carter replied simply. We don't have a choice. Far from Earth on the edge of Vraxian space, a small ship drifted with its power systems almost completely shut down. Inside, the infiltration team leader reviewed the data they had collected over the past months. Humans are building more ships, he reported to Grand Marshal Korvik through a secure communication channel. 5 vessels of the same class as the Defiance. How soon will they be operational? Korvik asked, his image flickering on the small screen. Within 2 months based on their current progress, Korvik hissed in frustration. Too soon. Our fleet won't be ready by then. There's more, the infiltration leader continued. Humans are forming alliances. The Allorans, the Mithril, and the Quantum Collective have sent delegations to Earth. Other species are watching closely. Korvik's 4 eyes narrowed. This is worse than we feared. If these alliances form, our position as the dominant power in this sector will be threatened. What are your orders, Marshal? Korvik was silent for a long moment. We cannot wait. We must strike now before these alliances are formalized, before their new ships are ready. But Marshal, our fleet is not fully prepared for a major offensive. It doesn't need to be, Korvik said. We don't need to destroy Earth. We just need to show the galaxy that humans can be defeated. One successful attack against a human target will make these other species reconsider their alliances. What target do you suggest? The infiltration, leader asked. Their new colony, Korvik replied. New Haven. It's less defended than Earth, but still important to them, and symbolic. It's built to replace the colony we destroyed. Attacking a colony didn't work well for us last time, the infiltration leader pointed out cautiously. Last time we didn't know about the Defiance, Korvik said. This time we'll be prepared for their stealth technology, and this time we'll leave survivors to tell the story of our victory. Back on Earth, in the quiet of her temporary quarters, Ambassador Russell was awakened by an urgent message. She tapped the screen by her bed. Ambassador, we've intercepted Vraxian communications, the duty officer reported. They're planning an attack on New Haven. Russell was fully awake instantly. When? They're mobilizing now. We estimate 3 days until they reach the colony. Alert Admiral Carter. I'll be at command in 10 minutes, she said, already getting out of bed. Within an hour, the Defiance was preparing for emergency launch. On the bridge, Carter reviewed the situation with his officers. The colony has basic defenses, but nothing that can stand against a full Vraxian attack force, Commander Hayes reported. And we can't get the new ships ready in time, Captain Rogers added. The Relentless is closest to completion, but its weapon systems aren't fully installed yet. Carter nodded grimly. Then it's just us. Again. Sir, Lieutenant Miller spoke up. I've contacted our allies. The Aloran ship Peaceful Sunset is already in the sector. They've offered assistance. Carter raised an eyebrow. That's a diplomatic vessel, not a warship. Yes, sir, Miller agreed. But the Alorans say they want to show their commitment to the Alliance, even if it's just in a support role. Carter thought for a moment. Tell them we accept, and send a message to New Haven. Tell them help is coming, but they need to prepare for evacuation just in case. As the Defiance's engines powered up, Carter looked at his crew. They all knew what was at stake. Not just a colony, but Earth standing in the galaxy. If they failed to protect New Haven, their potential allies might reconsider their position. The Vraxians think they can intimidate us and our friends, Carter told his crew. They're about to learn that humans don't intimidate easily. And we never abandon our own. The Defiance shot out of Earth orbit, pushing its engines to maximum speed. The race to save New Haven had begun. The USS Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel near New Haven Colony. The ship's sensors immediately detected the Vraxian fleet. 30 warships surrounded the small human settlement on the planet below. We're too late, Captain Rogers said quietly. Admiral Carter stared at the tactical display. No, they haven't attacked yet. They're in position, but the colony is still intact. Lieutenant Miller looked up from her communication station. Sir, I'm picking up a transmission from the Vraxian command ship. They're broadcasting to the entire sector. Put it on screen, Carter ordered. The main screen showed the scaled face of Grand Marshal Korvik. His 4 eyes gleamed with confidence. Attention, human colony, Korvik said. I am Grand Marshal Korvik of the Vraxian hegemony. Your settlement exists in space claimed by the hegemony. You have 1 hour to surrender and evacuate. If you refuse, we will destroy your colony as we destroyed Haven. The screen went black. They're trying to make a point, Commander Hayes said. Show the galaxy that the Defiance can't protect human colonies. Sir? Miller interrupted. Incoming transmission from New Haven. The screen changed to show a woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. This is Governor Betty Scott of New Haven. Admiral Carter, I assume that's you out there? Carter nodded. It is, Governor. What's your situation? We've started evacuation procedures, but we only have a few small ships. We can't get everyone off planet in an hour. Maybe not even in a day. Understood. Hold your position. Help is coming. Sir, Rogers said when the call ended. We're outnumbered 30-1. Even with our advanced technology, those aren't good odds. Carter turned to him with a small smile. Who said we're alone? The sensor officer looked up in surprise. Sir, multiple ships just dropped out of FTL. I'm counting 15 vessels of unknown design. On the main screen, a variety of ships appeared. They were different shapes and sizes, some sleek and elegant, others bulky and practical. "This is Ambassador Lith of the Aloran Cooperative," came a voice over the comm system. "The cooperative stands with humanity against Vraxian aggression," another voice joined in. "Representative Voss of the Mithril Concordance, our ships are at your disposal, Admiral Carter." A third voice, sounding like gentle electricity, added, "Quantum Collective Envoy Zell Turith. The collective supports human independence." Miller turned to Carter with wide eyes. "Sir, how did they get here so fast?" "Ambassador Russell has been busy," Carter replied. "When we intercepted the Vraxian plans, she contacted our potential allies. They decided that actions speak louder than words." On the Vraxian command ship, Grand Marshal Korvik stared at his display in shock. "What are those ships doing here? The alliance treaties haven't been signed yet." His second-in-command looked nervous. "Marshal, we're receiving transmissions from all 3 vessels. They say they stand with the humans and demand we withdraw immediately." Korvik slammed his fist on the arm of his command chair. "No, we will not be intimidated. The hegemony does not retreat." "But sir, we planned for 1 human ship, not an allied fleet." "It makes no difference," Korvik insisted. "Begin the attack. Target the colony first." Back on the Defiance, Carter addressed the allied ships. "Thank you for your support. I suggest the following battle plan." He outlined a strategy, assigning each ship to specific positions. The allied commanders agreed quickly. "The Vraxians are powering up weapons," Hayes reported. "They're targeting the colony." "Execute battle plan," Carter ordered calmly. The Defiance shot forward, its stealth systems active but not at full power. The Vraxians could detect it was there, but couldn't get a precise lock on it. The Allied ships spread out following Carter's plan. The first Vraxian shots headed toward the planet, but the Aloran ships moved into position, activating powerful shield systems that deflected the energy blasts. "Now," Carter said. The Defiance fired its main weapon, not at the Vraxian ships, but at an empty spot in space between them. The energy beam seemed to tear open reality itself. A swirling vortex appeared. "Gravitational disruption field successful," Spencer reported from the weapons station. "Vraxian ships in sectors 3 through 7 are being pulled off course." The Mithril ships darted forward, their smaller size making them hard to hit. They fired precise shots at the weapons systems of the struggling Vraxian vessels. The Quantum. Collective ships released clouds of energy that interfered with Vraxian sensors and communications. "We have them in disarray," Rogers said with amazement. "This is actually working." On the Vraxian command ship, Korvik watched in horror as his carefully planned attack fell apart. "How are they doing this? It's impossible." Marshal, his second-in-command, said urgently, "We're receiving a transmission from the human ship." Korvik hesitated, then nodded. "Put it through." Admiral Carter's face appeared on his screen. "Marshal Korvik, this is your second and final warning. The Vraxian hegemony will withdraw from all sectors bordering human space. You will respect the independence of all species in this region of the galaxy, and you will pay reparations for the destruction of Haven Colony." "Or what?" Korvik snarled. "Or the alliance we've formed will dismantle the hegemony piece by piece," Carter said calmly. "Look around you, Marshal. This is just the beginning. 3 species have joined us today. How many do you think will join us tomorrow? How many of the worlds you've conquered are waiting for a chance to break free?" Korvik stared at the tactical display. 10 of his ships were already disabled. The colony remained untouched, protected by Elleran shields. "This isn't over," he said finally. "The hegemony has ruled this sector for 1,000 years. We will not be defeated by upstart humans and their temporary allies." "You're right about one thing," Carter agreed. "This isn't over. But the galaxy is changing, Marshal. The age of empires built on fear is ending. I suggest you change with it." He ended the transmission. For a long moment, Korvik sat in silence. Then slowly he gave the order. "Withdraw. All ships, return to hegemony space." As the Vraxian fleet retreated, cheers erupted across the Allied ships. On New Haven, colonists came out of their shelters and looked up at the sky in wonder. 1 year later, Earth had changed dramatically. The New Earth Embassy on neutral Centauri Prime had become the center of a growing alliance. 27 species now participated in trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense. Ambassador Diane Russell stood at the window of her office, watching representatives from across the galaxy move through the embassy gardens. Admiral Carter joined her. "Quite a change from a year ago," he said. She nodded. "When the Defiance first confronted the Vraxians, we just wanted justice for Haven. Now we're rebuilding the power structure of an entire sector of the galaxy. For the better," Carter added. "The Vraxians still control their core worlds, but their empire of fear is shrinking. 3 of their subject species have already declared independence." "Do you think they'll try again?" Russell asked. "To attack us, I mean." "Perhaps," Carter admitted. "Old powers rarely give up without a fight, but they know now that humans aren't alone. And neither are the other species who want freedom." As they spoke, a message arrived for Carter. He read it and frowned. "What is it?" Russell asked. "Unknown ships detected at the edge of charted space," he said. "Moving with purpose toward our sector." Russell sighed. "Another threat?" "Or an opportunity," Carter replied. "The galaxy is bigger than any of us imagined. But whatever's coming, humanity won't face it alone." The universe, they had learned, was full of dangers, but it was also full of potential allies, friends, and wonders beyond imagination. The Defiance had taught the galaxy to fear humanity's strength. Now humanity was teaching the galaxy the greater power of unity and respect. As the unknown ships drew closer, a new chapter in human history began.